live on YouTube.
All right, what is up, everybody? Welcome to the show. Welcome to the program this week. We're back on regular schedule. Did not have a show last week. I was invited to a Flyers alumni event, so and that was kind of last minute, so did not do a show. But we are back. We're back live, and lots to talk about. Surprisingly, for it kind of being a little quieter on the Flyers, there was some news today as well. But as for, the overall kind of recent things that have kind of gone on with this team, still front office search. Emil Castonguay will be staying in Vancouver. We'll be talking about that. Provorov available for a trade. Flyers will not be entertaining a lowball offer, so that is one thing to kind of keep in mind. The play of Provorov declining kind of hurts that. Similar to the Chychrun and Ekholm deals is, I guess, what the Flyers are looking for, which would make sense, especially from the Chychrun side of things. Hayes talks with Columbus. That's still kind of, that's still in the air. It seems that could be a possibility. Blake Wheeler to the Flyers. I will be discussing that and kind of breaking that down as well and kind of looking at some different things on that. Zamula signs today, 1 year, $775,000. He would have been an RFA at the end, or he was an RFA going into this year, so or going into 2023-24. So this offseason he would have had to get a contract. So the Flyers get that done, and obviously Danny Briere has been pretty busy. He was watching the Phantoms. I believe he was in Reading for one of the playoff games. And obviously signing Zamula, so it's not like, they aren't doing anything. And then obviously there's been talk with the front office. So he seems like, that Danny B's been pretty hard at work. So we'll kind of see what happens as, kind of the rest of this all kind of unfolds. And then the Fedotov situation as well. A couple other things. Mike Knuble, former Flyer, will be joining me here at 6:30. Going to be a really good conversation. Very excited for that one. NHL playoffs. My God. The Bruins are out, the Avs are out, the Leafs are on their own too. I mean, it's only been the first round, and it's been incredible. And the second round looks even better because, now you have, the Leafs play Florida. You have Seattle taking on the Stars, the Oilers taking on the Golden Knights, and then you have, New Jersey against Carolina. I'll be talking about the playoffs in just in a little bit here, but some of the main things that I've really enjoyed from these playoffs, I think, is more of the intensity. I think it really makes me wish, that we were in the playoffs, but I am getting a call here, so let me pick this one up. Go ahead, Dad.
Yo, I was hoping you were going to bring up the Cup playoffs.
Yes, that's in here.
All right. Now,
Mm-hmm.
so that first round was incredible.
Yeah.
The teams you thought were going are now teeing off on the golf course.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Bruins. I hope Bergeron and Marchand, have a good first, handicap on the first nine.
Mm-hmm.
But seriously, all those overtime games.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
13, I think. 13 overtime games, yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, and I think the stat was like 10 of those games were won by the road team of the overtime.
It has been such a joy to watch. Although, I'll tell you what, last night's game, I don't know. The Rangers left their heart back in the hotel.
Yeah, that was not an ideal game for the Rangers.
They were terrible last night. Absolutely terrible.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, and I'm only saying this just because I have no love for the team or anything like that, but I think the Leafs are going all the way. I think now that they got that first round jinx, kind of like the Capitals, once they got it past the second round, went all the way. Haven't done anything since. But you know what I mean. Once you get
once you get over that hump, yeah, and that's the thing. Like And I think the biggest thing about the Leafs, right, is everybody talked about Tkachuk, and everybody's been talking about Tkachuk because he absolutely just destroyed the Bruins. And I think the biggest thing with that was, the Bruins couldn't handle him. And it's funny because I was listening to one of the podcasts I listened to, 32 Thoughts, and they mentioned in it that on the Montour goal that tied the game, Swayman, he doesn't get set, but he takes a shot at Tkachuk before he gets set, and the puck ends up going in because he's not set in time. So he was in their head the entire series, and that was very evident throughout the entire series because they just could not stop him. Nope. And for Toronto, I agree. I think the Leafs are going to go far. I think they're going to the Cup final. My Western Conference final was Dallas and Edmonton, and that still is a possibility. I said that from the beginning. Again, I'll be kind of diving into some more of it in a little bit, but for the Leafs, they have the guys to do that. You have Luke Shen, you have O'Reilly, you have Achari. Those guys can all go up against Tkachuk, and they obviously, the star guys clearly outweigh the star guys on Florida. So, I mean, Florida beat Boston, so they can beat anybody. But at the same time, the Leafs they look good, and we'll see because Samsonov outplayed Vasilevsky, and that's kind of what they need. So we'll see what happens.
All right, man. Love the show.
Dad. Thanks.
I'll be listening.
All right. I'll talk to you. See ya. Again, if anybody wants to join in on the conversation, since we're talking about playoffs, I'll kind of switch this around and I'll go from playoffs and then we'll hit the Flyers news. Since I guess it's more recent for NHL stuff. Bill Haynes, what's up, man? Ryan Begler, Howard Frank, Tristan, what's up, guys? Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. So, just a quick thing here. Just want to. I did get a couple sponsors for the show, so we're going to be doing a couple ad reads kind of here and there. So there's going to be a little different things kind of with the guests hotline and all that different stuff. So obviously, as it goes on, you'll obviously see what I mean. So. Thank you to SeatGeek for sponsoring this segment. If you don't know, SeatGeek is a ticket app that takes the confusion out of buying tickets. They score tickets 0 to 10 for good versus bad seats, and then you could obviously pick from there. My viewers, you guys watching the show right now, can get $20 off with code FlyersFanMania in all capital letters at checkout. So $20 off of an order of $50 or more. I am getting a call here, so let me answer this one. Tristan, what's up, buddy?
What's up, Chris?
What's up, dude? How you doing?
What are you doing?
Well, I'm doing the show at the moment.
So I have a few questions for you.
Mm-hmm. What's up?
One thing. Let's go Kraken.
I had them winning.
They played tonight actually.
Yeah, on the night. Yep.
So let's talk about the Panthers and Bruins game real quick.
Yeah.
So I understand about Matthew Tkachuk.
Mm.
I mean, I understand that we cannot get him right now because he has a higher contract.
Right.
But that man, whoo.
Yeah. No, and that's the thing. I mean, he looks good. He's incredible. I mean, right now he's probably the best American-born player. Right now. I mean he's been insane.
I mean, the one thing about him, I want him to come to Philadelphia. You know why? Because that'll make us better right there.
Right. Well, no, for sure. I mean, look, I agree. It would make us better, but he's not leaving Florida. I think he loves to be a Panther. I think it's very clear. I don't see it. I really don't see it. I believe he even has a no trade or a no move or something. I don't even know his full contract.
It has 8 years on it.
Right, but that's the thing. Like, I know it's long term, but does he have a no move or no trade or something? Like, Yeah, he's got going into next season. He's got a full no move clause and then a modified no trade in the last 2 years at 9.5. So
I mean,
there's no way because he's got a no move. He'd have to waive it. So he'd have to want to come here, and I don't think that's happening.
That it seemed like that. Like if you want to get him, like you want to. Obvious the one thing we can't retain some salary right now because I mean I've been hearing rumors that we might trade Provorov too.
Right, yeah, and that's kind of on my topic list too. I'll be talking about that soon. If they were to get anybody with a high cap hit, and I'm going to talk about that in a little bit because I got some different things to kind of mention with Blake Wheeler as well because there's been rumors of that, and I'll kind of break that down. But
I mean, one thing. What about Hayes?
Well, that's the thing. Like, if we move out any of those guys, they're all going to be. You're going to have to retain some money because we're not going to be able to move them at their value because some of them just make too much for the cap.
I don't really want to lose Hayes, but he's terrible at times, actually.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing. I mean, Hayes is another one that's like you're going to have to do something to kind of make a little bit some sort of room. I mean, you re-sign Zamola today. Like you already know some guys are going to be
Zamola, but that's different with him. He didn't not make the team out of camp though.
Right, that's what I mean. And he doesn't make a lot of money, so they already they're already signing some of the guys that don't make that much money, so they're going to be trying to get some more of the other guys probably out of here and get the contracts done that they know that they can get done, which is why Zamola got signed today.
The one that frustrates me right now is Sanhai's contract.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. No, for sure. He's one of the guys that they're questions about moving him as well. But buddy, thanks for calling in. I appreciate it.
All right.
Always good talking to you.
All right, let's go Kraken.
All right. See you, buddy.
Bye.
Bye. There he is. So again, a lot of different things from these playoffs. You got, for me at least, I had, let me look at my picks here. I had different picks, and I only got 3 wrong. I was honestly kind of shocked. I had Boston, the Islanders, Toronto, the Rangers, Seattle, Dallas, Edmonton, and Vegas. I got the entire Western Conference right. Only 1 of 4 in the East. I think everybody in the world had the Bruins. The Islanders, I had them in 7. Game 6, it was an overtime. It was close. It was a kind of weak goal. The Rangers, that's another one. Like, goes to Game 7. They could have won that. And Boston. I mean, I could have had all of them right, but my girl. And then I did this with my girlfriend, and I put hers on here. She got 5 right as well. She had Florida, Carolina, the Rangers, Tampa, Seattle, Minnesota, Edmonton, and Vegas. She picked Florida, and that was a straight guess. I kind of just did this mess around with her. Like, she doesn't really watch hockey like I do, but she picked Florida, and she wanted them to win the entire time. I sat her down. I was like, "There's no way that the Panthers are winning. There's absolutely no way." And I was so full of shit. It was just great. So both of us got 5 right. I had for the second round, I have Toronto in 6, Dallas in 7, Oilers in 6, and New Jersey in 7. Those are my picks for the second round. Those people in the chat, let me know your picks for the second round of the playoffs. It's been incredible. I mean, so many good things. And really, I think that the Florida and Seattle series has been good. And the Florida and Seattle, not really just their series, but also just the way that those two teams won. I think that's great for the Flyers. I think it's a good thing to look at for the Flyers because think about it. Like there's no way that none of these teams, like every other team that goes to playoffs is going to say, why couldn't we just do what the Panthers just did? Or why couldn't we do what Seattle just did? Like, that's going to be talked about now. And that's why I always say all you have to do is get in because that's all that matters. And if you get in, you can shock the world. That's it. That's what the Florida Panthers did. That's what the Seattle Kraken did. Now, it kind of sucks for Seattle because they were it was the same night that Florida did it to Boston, so nobody was talking about it, and that was it. So it kind of sucked at that point because it's just no one's talking about this, and they should have. I mean, Seattle, for what it's worth, they played well. I mean, they had a really, really good series. But let's kind of move on to some Flyers news as well. Thank you to SeatGeek for sponsoring that segment as well. And again, for those just joining or anything, if you use my code Flyers Fan Mania in all capital letters at checkout, you can save $20 off of a ticket order over $50 or more. Just a quick note about that too. Like, sometimes when you go on and you look to get the tickets, you have to see if the promo code is acceptable, because it's obviously SeatGeek is resale. So when you go on there, some people don't have it set to use a promo code. So make sure when you're buying tickets, that's there. Use the code, save yourself $20. So yeah, again, latest Flyers news. A lot of different things. Blake Wheeler to the Flyers. Let's talk about it. Wheeler, 36 years old, has a modified no trade clause and a no move. It's a 5-team no trade. $8.25 million for one more season, the 23-24 year. Just think about it, right? Blake Wheeler as a Flyer for 1 year, right? If he plays well, he's not going to be making anything more than 8.2. The following year, Winnipeg, they're in that weird spot because they're going to be doing something, and a lot of different things are going to kind of be changing with them. But 55 points in 72 games, 16 goals, 39 assists for Blake Wheeler with the Jets. The Flyers, well, one, they need a center, right? I personally am not opposed to bringing in another veteran. We are, rebuilding, and at the same time, if it's only 1 year or so, then yeah. The thing is with Wheeler, though, he'd have to waive it to come here because of the no trade. The Flyers wouldn't have to be. If the Flyers are on that list, then they're on that list. If they're not, then they're not, and he would be able to get traded here. So obviously a lot of it, Wheeler holds the cards, but it's just something fun to talk about because it was mentioned the other day by Jeff Merrick on 32 Thoughts, and it got me thinking, because to me, Winnipeg is a team that can really do some damage. Like, in the offseason, they seem like a team that's really going to be moving things around, a lot of different parts, and just moving like this, that, and the other. And, the whole thing with Rick Bowness the other night on how he just absolutely unloaded on them in the minute and a half, called them soft, basically, and, after they lose Game 5 to Vegas. So a lot of changes are going to be happening, and I wonder about that, because Wheeler, again, it's another type thing where my guess is we're probably going to be making some moves with teams that are in the same boat. Teams like Winnipeg, teams like Vancouver, right? Teams like Calgary. There's teams that are, and again, I don't mean to just throw out all Canadian teams, and there's obviously others, but there's many different ones that kind of could be in the mix. So again, the cap isn't going to get any better. You're going to have to retain something. I was kind of messing around last night in NHL 23, just seeing what, obviously it's completely different. And I was throwing up, what would it take to get Wheeler? And I did a couple of them. And I traded Hayes for Wheeler 1-for-1. And really, if you think about it, it's not that bad of a deal. It's no retention for any team, and it went through. And it was just Hayes for Wheeler, no retention, and for most of the actual just that trade alone, it takes off the 3 years left of Hayes and then the 1 year for Wheeler, and that's it. So if Blake Wheeler, if that were to be the case, I don't know. It's just kind of a summertime rumor just to talk about, so we'll see what happens. Again, front office search as well. We got 10 people in here. What's up, everybody? Thanks for tuning in. Again, the call line is open. Call 267-939-1216 if anybody wants to call in, talk some Flyers hockey as well. Front office search. Dave Poulin, been a name that's rumored. Scott Mellenby, Ray Shiro. Briere, again, like I mentioned, clearly being active. There's been different things that have kind of been going on with this. Scott Mellenby, former Flyer. He played more games with the Panthers in his career. Played close to 1,500 games, but played like 350 of them as a Flyer. So, played with the Flyers. Ray Shero. I'm not too sure where the connection comes in from. No, I'm just kidding. Obviously, Ray Shero, Fred Shero, that connection. Dave Poland, obviously former Flyers captain under Mike Keenan. I actually had an interview with Dave Poland. It's one of the best interviews I've ever done. It is, it's on my YouTube if you want to check it out. It was incredible. I mean, he's so intelligent and really smart guy, really nice guy. Knows a lot about the game, and obviously he does so much media with TV and TSN. He does he was explaining to me he does Leafs. He does Leafs every once in a while, who the Canadians color, Senators color, all this different stuff. Again, I'm just paraphrasing and kind of just spitballing, but obviously you obviously get my point. But he does so much stuff, it's insane how busy he is. But yeah, I mean, again, there's obviously going to be different things with this, right? Because the front office search, they want to kind of separate it. They want to have the person that does the that is working with Briere more on the hockey side. So that's kind of the thing. You have to separate that now, because you have the fill-in for Dave Scott, and you have the fill-in for the two positions for GM and president of hockey ops. So you're going to have to switch those, and there's two things open. So they want to separate it at the same time, and I think they should. In my opinion, that has to happen. You have to keep the hockey side on one side, and you have to keep the business on the other side. Keep them like this. And I'm not saying make them where they hate each other, but make it a good distance so that you're able to have some, legit good decisions. And I think, look, I've talked about this so many times, the difference of, Clark and Holmgren and Barber and all this other stuff. Mr. Twister, what's up, brother? Derek Fazzy, what's up, man? Thanks for tuning in. Again, if anybody wants to join in on the conversation, call 267-939-1216. Yeah, I mean, look, I've never been the person that sits there and says, oh, well, these guys don't know hockey. Well, that's just not true. Is some of it outdated? I don't know. Again, I'm not in those meetings or anything like that. I think that's a different question for somebody else that probably is. But I will say I've heard this multiple times. A guy like Paul Holmgren, he listens really well. I'll say that. He doesn't really speak until everything is said, and then he gives his opinion. He really sits down and listens, and I think that's good to know. Again, there's so many different things that can go on with this front office search. I personally don't mind if it's a former Flyer. I think that's better. That doesn't really bother me, because again, I don't think these guys just don't know hockey or anything like that. I just think that's just, to put it bluntly, I think it's stupid to say something like that. So yeah, I mean, obviously this is going to be a big thing throughout the rest of the season. I don't know how long it's going to take. I don't know. Again, the lottery can change a lot of this on Monday. You have the lottery coming up, and that's now Monday night at 8:00 on ESPN here in the States. Obviously, different things in Philly or in Canada on different networks. So again, there's so many different things that can kind of go on with that. And look, if the Flyers get Bedard, right, just say for argument's sake that we get Connor Bedard. Well, your entire offseason is changed right there, because now you have a player that literally could play on the Flyers next season in Connor Bedard. If he were to be a Flyer, I don't really think, because to me, whoever gets number one, no one's not taking Bedard at 1. That was just stupid. So he is guaranteed going 1. It really makes me wonder, because if we were to get him, that would be sweet. It really would be nice. A couple other things as well. Again, Provorov, that I mentioned it off the top as well. Provorov available for a trade. Flyers will not entertain a lowball offer. Similar type of deal to Chychrun. and Ekholm, and the Provorov declining to play hurts. That was all from Anthony DeMarco. Same with the front office stuff. That's from DeMarco as well. And also the Hayes talks with Columbus. They're kind of making him available as well. So that's also from Anthony DeMarco too. Some good reporting there. Well, that's the thing, Mr. Twister. Like, I'm going to be absolutely livid if we drop to 8 or 9. Like, there's just no way. There's no way. Because, again, just for those who don't know, we can only pick 1st, 2nd, 7th, 8th, or 9th. And if we pick 7th, okay, that's fine. I'd be fine with that. I wouldn't be happy, but I'd be fine with it. If we get 2, awesome. If we get 1, even better. If we drop, I'm going to be pissed. Because it's like, to me, like, I just... And again, it kind of goes back to the beginning of the year. Like, I never thought this team was that bad to be another top 5. So it kind of makes sense. You know, I've done that tankathon thing, and you check out the order and all that other stuff. Sometimes it's cool to see, like, because I've done it a couple times where, like, first try, really, it's been Flyers go up. And I'm not the only person that's talked about, like, you know, us getting Bedard and how great it would be. I did a whole segment on it a couple weeks ago on how good it would be for them to get Connor Bedard and just how much they deserve him more than everybody else. And just think about it. Like, again, I've said it before, I'll say it again. It's going into a straight, like, market that needs something. Like, we're dying for something here. I mean, it got so bad for me this year that I started going absolutely berserk over the Phantoms. And it's like, you think of that, like, no one else has to do that. No other team has to do that. Like, just to get something good to watch. I was watching the Phantoms. It's not like a knock at the Phantoms. I'm just saying that's how bad our NHL team was. So, there's no way to me that the Flyers drop. I can't see it happening. If it does, I'm going to be pissed. I'll say that. There's just no way. Dank Seltzer, what's up, dude? Thanks for tuning in. Talking about the draft lottery next week, so I'm sure you'll be pretty happy about that. Again, we got Mike Knuble coming up in a couple minutes here. Chicago does not deserve it. I agree. They would really be unfortunate if Chicago were to get it. I'd be really mad if that were to be the case, because what have the Blackhawks done in the past couple of years to really deserve anything good? The answer is nothing. Again, Columbus, I'm sorry, no. Like, you've had so many picks in the top 10, 5, 15 in your entire history that you really don't even deserve it this time. Like, you weren't supposed to have that bad of a year. It wasn't like you were a horrible team. No, you were injured and everybody else just was bad. You lost Werenski, you had really bad goaltending, your coach gets fired, all this other stuff. You weren't even supposed to be that bad. It really would make sense if we got him, because I just look at it like this. Like, how much money the NHL is going to make so much money wherever he goes, right? But if you put him in a market like Philly, you're going to make double the money. Like, compared if you put him in San Jose, like, come on. I mean, people are going to travel, like, miles and miles to see this kid play. But again, we got Mike Knuble coming in here in a minute or two. Just wanted to throw out the sponsor here for the guest line, Puck Cups, and I've mentioned this a little bit on my Instagram, but they are now the sponsor of the guest line, Puck Cups. It's super cool. I actually have one right here, and if you notice in my videos, it sits on my desk. But what it is, it's a beer glass. It's a 16-ounce pint glass, and it's got a hockey puck built-in coaster to it. It screws on and off like that, and that's kind of how you watch the thing. It's super cool. They have custom ones. This is the original one that they have with their mascot on it. It's really cool. I mean, I drink out of it every once in a while I kind of have it sit here because, that's the one that they sent me, so I have it sit here just for the sponsor. But again, like I mentioned, customizable hockey pint glass with a hockey puck coaster built into it, and you can use code CMSHOW for 10% off at checkout. So again, a lot of different stuff kind of moving on here with the show, and then getting a couple sponsors as well. But again, still waiting here for Mike Knuble to kind of ring in. So again, let's kind of just carry on with the chat here. So yeah, I mean, Michkov, that's another one. I'm just going to kind of put this on, keep this up here until get the call in. Yeah, Michkov, he looks good. Now I'm getting a call from my other phone. Yeah, Michkov, he looks great. I was thinking about this too. Like, does this whole Fedotov thing, because unfortunately for Fedotov, that doesn't seem like that's going to be really changing for the Flyers. Fedotov, he is not going to be coming over, it looks like. There's going to be a couple different things there, but I am getting a call here. Let me see who this is. Hello?
Hey, it's Mike.
Oh, hi, Mr. Knuble. How are you?
Good. How you doing?
Good. Thank you for doing this. I appreciate it.
No problem. Are we recording? Are we just recording this?
Yeah, I'm actually live right now.
Oh, okay. Is it on your site then?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I was just like, I'm kind of like in a car. I'll be home in like 2 minutes, but that's fine. We could just begin then. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, cool. Sounds
All
good.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, so again, thanks for doing this. I appreciate it. Just a couple things just to kind of start off. Obviously you were a Flyer for a little bit in your career. You kind of bounced around a pretty much a good chunk of teams. What are some of your favorite memories as a Flyer?
Well, I think first of all, it was like even before joining Philadelphia, I thought it was ironic when I was being pursued by them in free agency, that because I felt like I never played great against them. Mm-hmm. I never felt like I was doing much, and not that that's how you decide on how, on bringing a player in. You look at their overall package or whatever, but
right.
It was kind of a place that I never really felt like I'd end up. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know. I never really thought about that. I think, so I was kind of surprised when they pulled it all together. But I remember the day I signed with them, we actually had a baby. I worked out. I played golf, signed with the Flyers, and had a baby all in one day. So our youngest son, Cole, so I signed obviously July 1st, 2004, because that's the day my son was born. Yeah, that was the day my son was born, and now he's 18, almost 19 now. So it's I guess it was a long time ago, but it was certainly a place I didn't think I was going to play, but always kind of heard good things about it. Like Danny McGillis was there for a while, and he came to Boston when I was in Boston,
mm-hmm.
and so I always heard good things about it. There always seemed to be some sort of news happening in and around Philadelphia, but it was, it was always kind of a shock to hear that they were like pursuing you in free agency.
Right, for sure. Just kind of going off that, right? You kind of mentioned, how much of a shock it was for you, like, and all that stuff. Obviously, Ed Snyder's presence was pretty big with the team, and still is to this day. What, in your opinion, was his kind of presence like, just being around him? And, if you hear so many stories about, him coming down after every game and, shaking the guy's hands, win or lose, like all of that stuff. What was kind of Mr. Snyder's, just his whole presence like?
Yeah, I mean, that is certainly what he's probably, ask any player that was kind of there when, he was able to be with the team a lot and be around the locker room and stuff. And he'd always come in after games and come and say hello and do that kind of stuff, which is really cool. And you knew it was his team, right? There was no doubt whose team it was. You knew who made the decisions around. I think that was a big thing too, was it's kind of still, like I came up through Detroit where it's a mom and pop team, right? You had the Illiches.
Right.
And then I moved to New York and it was Cablevision. It was James Dolan, Cablevision.
Mm-hmm.
Boston even was sort of like Boston was turning from kind of a mom and pop to, the Jacobs family was going a little bit more corporate. But Ed was still, he was splitting his partnership up, I think, a little bit at the time. But he was still, the majority guy, and still, everything that was being decided ran through him, whether it was trades and whatever else, trades and free agency, everything ran through his approval. And obviously had the influence of Bob Clark around a lot, had Homer around. So there were a lot of these ex guys. If you weren't familiar with the organization at all, you got kind of a crash course on how this organization was built and who was involved in building it up, and so, which was really cool. So it kind of went down from Ed, and he was very good about taking care of his guys that brought glory to Philadelphia, in the 70s. It was very good, and they proved to be good management type guys too, and directed the team for a long time. So, but his hands-on stuff, and very good to the families. Families came. He valued the value of players' families, and they were good, and he made you, for kind of a meat, kind of the East Coast being kind of a meat markety, grinding, just kind of take no prisoners area, kind of to live in. It was really like a family atmosphere with the Flyers that he projected.
Yeah, wow, that's awesome. Just kind of going off the Flyers now. You obviously played with current interim GM, and seems like he'll be the GM of the team, and Danny Briere. What did you kind of obviously there's so many stories you could probably tell about Danny, but what do you think of Danny is just GM of the team now, and what are some of the things that you think that he can kind of bring to the table? As Flyers are obviously in a kind of a different spot that they've never really been in before, and kind of rebuilding, and kind of in this like different spot of trying to find different things that kind of make the team better again.
Right. So it was kind of fun. Like I sat with Danny a couple times last summer, once at Flyers alumni camp, and then at the Flyers alumni golf outing too. So I saw him a couple of times. We happened to just share breakfast or share lunch at those events. And Danny's very pragmatic. Like he's very, very calm and very soft spoken, and he's a thinker, and he thinks about what he's doing before he makes a decision. And that's the off ice part of him, where he's just very, he's not going to be the center of the attention. He's going to be in the back of the room, but he's very pragmatic about what he says. And I think that carries a lot of respect, as a player and as a teammate. Guys knew that he gave a good effort on the ice, and was a great player and a great competitor on the on the ice. So and I think what helped Danny was, he was in the league young, and I think he's an undersized guy playing in the 90s, which is not an easy task. And so like Danny had been put on waivers at one point, and I think he was down at one point, and then resurrected himself again. So, he's kind of been through the ringer as a player. So he kind of has a lot to talk about in that respect, and kind of like he's kind of climbed, I've been the last guy in the lineup. I've been cut. I've been, this, that,
Right.
I wasn't the star all the time, and people see the finished product where he was the star, but he went through the ringer a little bit as a player too. That will help him. But he's obviously paid a lot of attention to what Paul's really helped him guide along, and other people, and Chuck in the front office, to really kind of groom him and show him the ropes. And it's been up to him to really take ownership of it and fall in love with that part of the job.
Right. No, for sure. And it's crazy because he's even said like he's learned a lot with this stuff, and obviously from, just being in Maine and all that stuff too. He seems like he's ready for the job, and he's started doing a lot already. But one thing that you kind of mentioned there was just, everything that kind of just changed and how he kind of evolved. And obviously you guys as a team evolved too, because you were here for the 06-07 season. Wasn't the best year, and you guys were, one of the worst teams in the league. The ticket sales were still great, all that stuff. And then go from one of the worst teams in the league to the Eastern Conference Final the following year. What was kind of the biggest thing from that? Because obviously, we talked about Briere. You had Briere, you had Tiemann, you had Hartnell. Obviously, a lot of other things kind of came into play. But what was the biggest thing in your eyes, from that switch from 06-07 to 07-08?
Well, I think it even started before that, because we had the lockout in 05 there.
That's
4
right.
or 5 seasons. So teams come out of the lockout, the rules change, right? They all of a sudden, these tick-tack hookings. You couldn't impede guys. You couldn't obstruct guys. You couldn't, hold on and water ski. So all these big guys, we're like, oh shit, like what are we gonna do here,
Right.
And so teams were like, well, how do we build a team, And then I think that year we lost to Buffalo in 05-06. We lost to them. That was Danny Briere led team in Buffalo.
Yeah.
And they were much smaller and skilled. And then so Bobby tried to make an adjustment.
I think that was the year with that hit on Umberger.
Yeah, Umberger got hit by Brian Campbell there. Yeah, right, which is kind of a memorable play. But then, so Bobby tried to revamp the team a little bit and quick, try and got a little bit smaller and stuff, and it didn't work out right. So all of a sudden, we're in 06, 07, we're like, crap, we got Peter Forsberg started going down with injuries. Simone was still a really good player, but Peter went down. That hurt. Your number one center was down. So we got off to kind of a funny start. Mike Richards and Jeff Carter were coming into their own. They weren't there yet, but they were getting better every year. So we're kind of on the up, on a different kind of transition. He still had Mike Ratchie was a big-time minute guy, but he hurt his back. Yeah. He had Hatch was going down with knee problems. So some of our key guys started dropping, which led to a really bad record. But kudos to Homer, and I think Bobby left too. Bobby stepped back and that, so Homer took over. So there's a lot of stuff going on. And then kudos to Homer, he grabbed Hartnell, got rights to teaming in, signed those guys right away, locked them up. I think we got Scotty Upshaw at one point. And I think Netamacky might have taken over in goal, and so there was some transition there, and obviously Danny was a huge part too. So I think part of it was figuring out how to negotiate the cap and how to spend your money, where to spend your money, and what type of players you needed, and probably letting some guys go and trying to free up their money a little bit. So it was so there was a lot of stuff going on, but we were a much better team that year, and probably getting a little bit better talent wise, and probably some of the younger guys, Joffrey Lupul, I think, came in the mix too, So I think there were some young players that came in, and the Richards and Carters, they evolved, and the younger players, some of their high end draft picks got better too.
Right, exactly, and honestly, a lot of that is kind of similar to where the Flyers are now. I mean, they need a lot of those guys, and especially managing the cap and all that stuff, kind of like what you were saying. That's one of the main things that Danny's going to have to kind of do here, because they're pretty tight with cap space, and there's a lot of different kind of just questions surrounding the certain guys kind of on the team now. But just kind of going off of that, what are kind of your thoughts on the direction of the team now? Where do you kind of stand on the rebuild so far?
Yeah, it takes time, right? And what I found in the salary cap age is you just got to be bad at the right time. This year you have a generational player coming out in Connor Bedard, who is a generational guy. I think the top 2 or 3, 4 picks yet last year were really good. Mm-hmm. You don't get one of those guys. It's I guess you got Cutter Gauthier, and I think he was 3. So yeah,
he was at
there's
5,
a start,
yeah.
Or 5, yeah. So Cutter's gonna be a good player. He's, quite frankly, he's not a superstar. He's not gonna be a superstar, but the Pittsburghs, look when they were bad. Look who they get. Crosby one year, they get Malkin the next. Look when Washington's bad, they get Ovechkin, they get Backstrom the next. Mm-hmm. You look at Chicago when they're bad, they get Kane, they get Taves. And it's just you gotta find one of those. You gotta straight gold in that respect. I mean, right. That's going to be how you're going to build a team.
That's
for
the easy part,
10 years. That is, yeah. And you do have to straight gold, but. And Connor Bedard is one of those really talents. Adam Fantilli, the number 2 this year, is one of those talents. So as a GM, do you make one of these bold moves where you just say, you know what, I'm gonna sell the farm and I got to get a couple of these. I got to get 1 or 2 of these young guys and really, and then you go Gauthier and you start to build and
especially if they win the lottery next week too, because that could be huge.
Yeah, I know you hope for luck in the lottery where you get one of these and can you parlay a deal and do that, and that's where GM's got to get creative and think and really be a used car salesman to figure out a deal here, that you can get somebody tempted to look at it and to jump, so
yeah,
it's you're gonna have to give up assets. And it's funny, I think good GMs, I think they'll get rid of guys before they should almost.
Yeah.
And you max them out when they're at the highest value, and maybe you got to give up somebody who you really 99 times out of 100, you don't want to give him up. But for this, I got to move this guy. I got to get him ahead, value, and I got to get him, before he's probably even popped, where we might even as a group think he's better and he's got room to grow, but we got to do it now to capitalize on our return, and sure, we'll miss the player, but we're going to get something good from return and, and try and turn those picks or whatever that is to something really concrete. So that's where you got to get lucky a little bit, in some of your decisions,
And that's the thing, because
we'll see what happens.
Right, especially too, because the Flyers have never won the lottery. Close they got was 2, and that was twice with Van Riemsdyk in 2007, and then Patrick in 2017. So, and obviously that kind of really set them back. But
it's hard too. I mean, it's hard because Detroit saw that. I mean, they didn't draft anybody in the top 20 for like 25 years.
Right. Yeah.
And so it's like, how do you go around it? Well, you find guys in Europe. You find the Zetterbergs in Europe, and you find Johan Franzen in Europe.
That's it.
And you get lucky with some of those. Yeah, you pull Datsuk from Russia, and that's not hard because the world. I think back in the day a little bit, you could hide. Guys could get hidden a little more, and you didn't talk about them. But now, internet and everybody talks too much anyway with Twitter and all that. So guys get exposed. You can't. There's nobody hiding under rocks anymore. So you do have to get lucky, and you got to pull something out of Europe and. Somebody you got to get lucky. I mean, you got to take a stab at somebody and get real lucky.
Right, exactly. So, just a couple more things. What was kind of going again? I've never really I've kind of learned this as I've been doing this for the past couple of years. Like players don't, or current players, former players, whatever. They don't really remember like specific like plays unless they're like really like rememberable or something like that. But I have to ask, and you've probably been asked this a million times, but what was kind of going through your head in Game 4 of 08 with the double overtime goal?
Yeah, no, I think against Washington, that was one of my that's one of my more memorable Philly moments. Besides me and Brendan Shanahan colliding and breaking my face, that's my other most Google.
I think the other one is probably the alumni game when you took the puck up high.
Yeah, there's another one. Yeah, I got hit last year in the alumni game, broke my cheek there too. So
did you really?
But no, that's I ended up. They sent me to the for a CAT scan the next morning. Jimmy McCrossan did, and they're basically like, that's because I already have a plate there from the first time when I broke my cheek with Shanahan.
Right.
They put a plate under my eye, and then I'm like, it hit right below that plate. So I'm like, oh crap, either it didn't break or blew that plate apart, and I'm gonna be here for like 3 days getting surgery. So I was like,
oof.
So but then they're like, hey, we just want to send you in. The next morning, just send you out just to make sure you're all set. And they go, yeah, it's cracked, kind of like an eggshell. We wouldn't really do anything. Just don't get hit in the face for a couple weeks. And I was like, okay.
There you go.
So anyway, but no, that Washington series was great. Ovechkin Ovechkin, Backstrom, Mike Green, Alex Semin. They were starting to really turn into really good players, and we had them down there. And then, Game 4, I think we ended up going 3-1 or something on that win. But that was one of my bigger Philly goals. That was really exciting. I think I was playing with Scotty Upchall and Jeff Carter, and we were probably we were a pretty good line. And I can't believe if that was the year that the way we turned out or whatever. But that was a big thrill. That was good. That was one of my more memorable Philly goals for sure. Just got a couple whacks at it and stayed on it and finally chipped it up and over them.
Right, yeah.
I have a still picture. I have this still picture in the game sheet. Like somebody in Philly framed it for me. So I have it mounted in my basement at home here in Michigan. So.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's sick.
Yeah.
Just a couple more things. Are any, just funny stories overall from when you were with the Flyers? Obviously, it was 2 stints, the 1 year and the second lockout coming back. But just any funny stories you might be able to share?
I don't know. We have good
stuff. Put you on the spot, but
I know. And people always ask for good stories. And like to your point, it's really hard to recollect stuff. There's just so many moments.
And that's the thing. And like so many, things. And especially when as you kind of get into it and you get settled. Like at least if for me, at least if I was in the NHL again, I can't even ice skate, but I would kind of just like all right, well this is just like every day, and then I'd kind of forget things. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, I know lots. But like. I think I had my one career hat trick in Philly. It was kind of cool, like the neighbors all, and that's part of why it was one of my favorite times living in South Jersey. Like, we really knew our people in the neighborhood, and they, came out and there was hats. Every kid in the neighborhood found a couple hats and threw them all in the yard and stuff like that. So we got all for the game, and so that was fun for our kids to do that. And I don't know, memorable. Like after we lost out our first year, I mean, we were having beers post game or maybe it was the same night or a day after, and. I think it was a Hatcher, Darian Hatcher, his wife, Mike Ratchie, Turner Stevenson, and Chris Terry and I had a horse in the Kentucky Derby, and so he said, and Ratchie had a motorhome, so we're like, screw it, let's leave tomorrow and go to the Kentucky Derbies. And I think our wives are like looking around, they're like, not one of them was going to say no, right? They weren't going to be the wife saying no. They're looking around at each other, and we're like, yeah, this is happening. So we like loaded up the next morning, and the four of us just got in Mike Ratchey's motorhome. I think he peed one time from Philadelphia to Louisville. Drove through the night. We stopped at West Virginia. We was in Morgantown, West Virginia. Stopped there at like 11 o'clock and had a couple. Rathy was driving, so he didn't drink. But we all piled into like college bar. Right, bought a few rounds for the kids. Loaded back up. Left. Spent the night in like a Walmart parking lot. Bought breakfast at the Walmart. Or at the, whatever, Bob's Evans in the same parking lot. Yeah. Continued on. Didn't even have a hotel room. Found some sort of hotel room and then just partied for 3 days and got a mobile home and went back home. So that was pretty good. Chris Terrian had a horse in there, so it was great. We were in suits. We were down the owner's paddock area. The Stanley Cup was there. Like we were like kings. We were like thoroughbred kings, man. We like in the horse business for like a weekend. We were like, it was great.
That's awesome. That's so
good.
That
was a fun one. Yeah, it was a fun outside of hockey story. That was good. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
So,
yeah. Again, Mr. Coonable, thanks so much for doing this. I appreciate it. It was really, really good hearing your insight and everything you kind of had to say. And obviously, the story at the end was hilarious. So
yeah, I know. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks again, and hopefully we could do it again sometime.
All right, Chris. Have a good day, buddy. Thank you very much.
All right, I'll talk to you. Bye.
See ya.
There he is, Mike Knuble, former Flyer. That was great. That was actually really funny. Yeah, that was sweet. All right, that's all I got for tonight. Thanks again, guys, for tuning in, Mr. Twister. I agree. That was cool. That was awesome. Thanks again. I appreciate all the support, guys. Yeah, playoffs are gonna be fun. Gonna be throwing the Leafs game on here in a couple minutes. I'm a certified Leafs fan at the moment. So again, thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Thanks for tuning in, and I will see you guys